When Glenn Jacobs debuted in the WWE all the way back in 1995, he wasn't the menacing big red machine we know today as Kane. In fact, his first appearance was under the name Mike Unabomb, but that was quickly scrapped in favour of Jacobs playing a demented dentist named Isaac Yankem. Though he enjoyed a brief push feuding with Bret Hart throughout the summer of 1995, Hart would almost always get the win, and after the feud ended, Yankem played jobber to the stars. In a bizarre attempt at bringing back former characters Razor Ramon and Diesel, played by both Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, Jacobs would resurface in 1996 as quote-unquote Diesel together with Rick Bogner, who played quote-unquote Razor Ramon. The two would embarrassingly attempt to duplicate the mannerisms and look of the former WWE wrestlers to an extremely lukewarm reaction. The act wasn't fooling anybody, and both gimmicks were dropped by April 1997, with the WWE going back to the drawing board about what to do with Jacobs. Thankfully, in a stroke of brilliance, the WWE would start a program revealing The Undertaker's biggest secret, hyping the debut of The Undertaker's long-lost half-brother, Kane. Kane was a surviving member of The Undertaker's family, who was left physically and mentally scarred at the hands of The Undertaker when he accidentally killed his family by starting a fire at their funeral home. After weeks of hype, Kane would emerge at 1997's Bad Blood pay-per-view, tombstoning his brother in the ring. Much like his kayfabe half-brother, he was a towering, imposing figure. With the red and black mask covering his supposed physical burns, his mannerisms were akin to Michael Myers, as an unstoppable force to be reckoned with. Over the years, Kane would keep his mask on, never revealing his disfigured face from the burns he suffered. His character would evolve ever so slightly, from not talking, to using a voice box, to speaking perfectly without having to use a box at all. He also performed more gracefully in the ring, ditching the Michael Myers routine. His character would develop beyond then just his feud with The Undertaker, showing emotions the WWE fans had never seen before.
Are you ready?
Well, you bet your ass I'm ready.
It doesn't matter if you're ready!
However, after donning the red and black mask for 6 long years, Kane, for the first time in history, would unmask, revealing his face for the first time under that character. On the June 23, 2003 episode of Raw, Kane battled Triple H inside Madison Square Garden, with his mask on the line. The Big Red Machine ultimately lost the contest, and finally revealed his face in the world's most famous arena. When the audience witnessed the face under the mask for the first time, they were met with the worst receding hairline in WWE history, with just a few blotches of ash marked on his face. Where were the so-called physical face burns Paul Bearer had mentioned a few years ago? On an episode of Edge and Christian's Pod of Awesomeness, Kane explained, "With the mask, it's much more difficult to emote and communicate." Kane says that for him, it's all about experience, and that you should be able to learn from your failures. Those who aren't successful are those that basically quit. As it relates to the mask, he had to learn to use his body more, which helped him as a performer. When the mask came off, the years of previous work helped him become a better rounded performer. In his opinion, by the time 2003 rolled around, the mask had become a hindrance, and that version of the character had gone as far as it could. But whose idea was it to unmask Kane for the first time? It was Kane and Vince's decision to remove it, and at the time, they were the only people convinced that it was a good idea. He acknowledges now how it was one of the best things that he ever did, and wouldn't have had the success he did if he kept the mask. The question asked is if he was nervous when that time came. He was apprehensive, as he knew that Vince isn't wrong often, but knew that there was a possibility that it may not work. Once it was off, there would be no turning back, and the mystique would be lost. However, in life, you have to take risks. Disappointingly, Kane would explain after, the scars weren't real, they were just psychological. But without the mask, it gave Jacobs an opportunity to further the Kane character, as he would become even more unpredictable and evil. Still, it's arguable the mystique of the character had gone, as in a sense, Kane became much more human. But for the better part of the next decade, Kane remained unmasked, and continued to find success, capturing the ECW and World Heavyweight Championships and winning the Money in the Bank ladder match. However, after being kayfabe injured by Mark Henry, leading to a 4-month hiatus, In December of 2011, Kane re-emerged with his familiar fiery entrance on Raw, wearing a new metallic mask, chokeslamming John Cena, and thereafter removing the metallic mask to reveal a new red mask, turning heel once again. Why did he return with the mask on though? Well, the reason is quite odd. As the Wrestling Observer reported, one of the reasons Kane is coming back under the mask is because the company wants to set a world's record for most people wearing masks at this year's Mania in Miami, and it's touch and go whether Mysterio will make it back, and Sin Cara shouldn't be back by then. Mysterio was around this past week for tribute to the troops and Raw, and was telling people that he's not going to rush himself back and risk messing up the surgery, and estimates a return in May, saying he didn't expect to be back in time for Mania. Sin Cara, on the other hand, even though he was told he's out for 6 to 8 months, is telling people he's making it back in 4 months and will be on Mania because he doesn't want to miss the payday. The record is 27,080 people during an Anaheim Angels baseball game in May when it was billed as Lucha Libre Mask Night. Kane also added in an interview, "I think the mask adds a lot of mystique because you never know exactly what I'm thinking. When I was unmasked, you didn't really get that sense, but since it went back on, you get the best of both worlds." Kane would again do a complete 180 with his character, pledging his allegiance to Stephanie McMahon by handing her his mask, becoming Corporate Kane, the most sane Kane has ever been portrayed in WWE history. He would return once more under the same mask, continuing where his demonic persona left off, reuniting with The Undertaker and feuding with the Wyatt family. Jacobs would leave the WWE for some time to concentrate on his campaign, running for mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, making part-time appearances in WWE to this day. But which Kane did you prefer, masked or unmasked? Let us know in the comments down below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.